Hey guys, it's Mia here and welcome back once again to another bookish video. Now, I am still continuing my October scary reading, and I'm continuing that with Creepypasta Collection number 1. I also have Creepypasta Collection number 2, and I tried rereading this and I got, I think, 4 stories in, and I just lost interest. Now, the main reason I got these is because a couple of years ago I used to be a big fan of Mr. Creepypasta, the creepypasta reader on YouTube. So I figured, because I was such a big fan of his, that I would get his books in order to support him. But recently I find myself growing out of and getting over the whole creepypasta stuff. I'd rather read an actual full horror story or watch a full scary movie. Now, these books are good if you just want a short horror story, or you're someone that doesn't like a long continuous horror story and just want a short and condensed one. Now, this is actually a reread. I read this one when I first got it a couple of years ago, and now you could honestly read or listen to every single one of these stories on Mr. Creepypasta's YouTube channel, because he's the one that put it together with the exception of the authors in this book. Now, if you want to get this book to support Mr. Creepypasta, you can. You can find it at your local bookstore or on Amazon, I'm sure, if they're still selling them. But you could also use both his narration while you read along with the stories in order to more immerse yourself into the stories by reading along and listening. But I kind of find myself getting over the whole creepypasta thing, and I completely forgot to explain what a creepypasta is for those of you that don't really know. A creepypasta is basically a short horror story written by people over the internet and read by Mr. Creepypasta and other creepypasta readers. So there are things like Jeff the Killer, Jane the Killer, Slenderman, The Rake. All of those can go on and on. Eyeless Jack, which I feel really bad for because his story is kind of sad. Then Tiki Toby. If any of those sound familiar to you, then that's a creepypasta. You also got the Sonic one and Lavender Town Syndrome. All of those type of stories are creepypastas made by people over the internet. Now, I've read, let me see, there's all the stories in the table of contents, like chapters, they're stories. I read Picture This by Vincent Venicava, Creeping Crimson by Michael Marks, Teeny Tiny by Max Lobdell, and I stopped somewhere in The Horror of the Vault by Isaac Blossenoon. Sorry if I butcher any of your names, but I think my favorite one out of the whole ones that I did read in this book is probably Creeping Crimson. It's a nice setup. It starts out in this creepy hotel because this couple is tired of driving and they've been driving for hours, so they just want to kind of pull off and stop for the night. And they find this creepy looking hotel and they decide, well, there's nothing else around, this is all we got, so we might as well stay here. At first, there's nothing out of the ordinary, so they go to the manager, get their key, and it finds out that even though there are plenty of vacant rooms, there are 2 other people or 2 other families staying in the same exact row of rooms back to back. And they're like, well, that's kind of weird. There's plenty of rooms. Why did they stick us all back to back? And then they realized that not only were they stuck back to back, but the walls of the rooms were literally paper thin. You could hear everything all of them were saying, even the ones in the farthest room. But they think nothing of it and go to bed. And in the middle of the night, they find themselves locked in the room. And all hell breaks loose from there. That was the best one in my opinion. I really feel like Picture This was way too gross. And I get that that's the point of a creepypasta, to be creepy, disturbing, and gross. But I wanted to read a creepypasta story, not read about dead bodies being messed with, if you know what I mean. That went a wee bit overboard, but I do like how Vincent Venicava kind of brought it back. And please don't kill me for this, because don't come after me, please. He kind of brought it back by saying, oh, I went from painting to doing creepy stories, looking for more people to criticize my work just so I could kill them. So please don't kill me for that. I think that was a nice twist at the end. I could have done without the screwing of the dead body. That was nasty. So those were the ones I did read, and then I kind of got over it at the Horrors of the Vault. That one is too drawn out, and I don't like reading people's emails. Even if they're fake, it kind of feels intrusive. And then this one still has a bookmark in it, which, how long has it been since I used bookmarks? You guys were the first to know when I stopped using them, because I talked about it when I stopped. But it looks like I didn't get very far into number 2, having only got one story in. So I feel like I've already supported Mr. Creepypasta in his work by getting these, but I'm just kind of over the whole creepypasta thing. I've kind of unsubscribed to Mr. Creepypasta months ago, and I just kind of burnt myself out or grew out of it. So I tried to reread these again even for October, and it's just not working. I didn't even get that far into this one before I said, you know what, I'm done. And it's not Mr. Creepypasta's fault or any of the authors. It's just the fact that I grew out of these kind of stories and kind of said, you know what, I'm kind of done with these. So I don't know if I'm going to keep these or not. I might get rid of them. I've been debating that myself just a little bit ago. Now, in terms of reading these, because they are a collection of short horror stories written by different authors, there's no real correlation to these. You can read the second one first, you can read the first one second. It doesn't matter. Me being me, I read the volume 1 first and then the second. But it doesn't matter. You can read them either way because it's not a real sequel. So be a rebel. Read the second one first. I don't care. It's not really coherent. Now, with that out of the way, I'm kind of backing off spooky for the month, but that's only because I found the most awesome thing ever. Apparently, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the creators are now making books. And so I saw this when me and my grandma went shopping this weekend, and I'm like, starry-eyed, I have to get it. And when I posted a picture on my social media, people were saying there's actually 2. So I'm kind of disappointed about that, because for some reason, the bookstore that we went to only had number 1. So I thought it was a standalone, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. So now I don't know when I'm going to be able to get the second one. So I'm kind of reluctant to start this, because I don't want to be left on a huge cliffhanger for who the heck knows how long. But because I've been a lover of Whoa, that sounded weird. Because I've loved Avatar The Last Airbender since it came out, and I have both Avatar The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra full series on DVD, I figured, why the hell not get the books too? Because this has been a beloved series of mine since it first came out on TV. So, I got it. So, what are your spooky reads, or are you starting to back off spooky reads to get into other books? Let me know in the comments down below, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye, guys!